Hey, what's up, guys? If you've been following me for a while, you know I'm a huge fan and supporter of Firecracker Farm. Alex, the owner, is not only an incredible human being, but he makes an incredible product. And that is why we could not be happier that they are sponsoring the Shoot Me Straight podcast. Each guest, when they come in, will get a sample of Firecracker Farm so they can take it back and enjoy. And I can tell you, to each person that we've given it to, they have not been disappointed. You can put these, put this salt on your favorite food, favorite beverage. I've even seen people put it in their coffee. They love it. There's an assortment of heat, so if you don't like it too hot, they definitely have that taken care of with some mild flavors. And then it goes all the way to extreme heat if you like to sweat. So if you guys are interested in purchasing some, go to firecracker.farm. All right, thank you for listening, and God bless. Welcome back to Shoot Me Straight with Eddie and Dave in a brand new studio.
Yeah.
Looking like
Sexy.
between two ferns here, except we have what is this? Rejuvenate Anti-Aging Coffee. That's our fern and the Bible.
Yeah. That's all
Heck
you
yeah,
need.
that's it.
Let's get that out of here. We'll put some Firecracker Farms up in that joint.
That's what I'm talking
let's
about.
do it.
You can rejuvenate with some Firecracker Farm. That's what. Firecracker Farm, the best salt
You get a,
on the planet.
yeah. It is really good salt, man. It's great packaging.
So today,
So,
I'm
you've
back
been
in.
traveling.
I have been traveling nonstop. I'm back for 24 hours in town, and I'm taking off tomorrow.
Are you a traveler, a gypsy?
A gypsy, if you will, an Irish gypsy. And I'm not afraid to say it.
So today we're gonna go over. We'll do some questions. We were talking about previous to this of just authenticity and being who you are, and how even we struggle with doing podcasts just because of being authentic and being exactly who you are, and the nature of podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good one. Which I don't know. I don't think I have answers to that one. I mean, honestly, you want to put content out to help people. You want to build an audience, but you also just want to be authentically yourself, and you never that's probably one of my core values, one of your core values, but it's difficult to do and do a podcast at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's super difficult to do, but I think you just have to get over your own ego. Will get in the way sometimes, to where we talked about earlier, where you're like, oh, when I'm doing, if I'm being recorded or I'm doing things, I don't want to sound stupid, or I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. All, probably all the little things that most people think about.
Yeah.
And I think people's ego will be like, well, since you don't want to sound stupid, or you don't want to do this, make some stuff up, or say some things that you normally wouldn't say, right? And to me, that's, not being completely transparent or authentic, but I think it's a natural thing to do. And that's I think that's like a micro version of it. But then you have, and it's not just, podcasts, it's a little different, right? Because I don't think you can really fake it too much, especially
Long form.
Yeah, long form. Although there are people that get on there and lie. We've had them on our show. That'll be unnamed. I'm sure people will find out here soon enough. There are people that will come on and spew lies, and they're pathological liars, and they're good at it. But as far as running a podcast, I don't think you can fake it, fake who you are for that long. It'll come out eventually, especially if you're putting out episodes once a week and you're talking and giving your thoughts on everything.
Yeah.
I think if you start off fake, you're going to get caught eventually.
Yeah.
People are like, well, and sort of like a politician, right? They'll say whatever to whichever way the wind's blowing. They'll be like, oh, I'm going to say that now because I want people to agree with me, and I want people to follow me, and I want people to like me. And then once the wind changes, like, oh, now I'll say this. And I don't think that in the podcast realm that happens a lot as far as being a podcaster. But maybe when you're a guest, it can happen. But then I definitely know social media is just full of it, right?
Yeah.
It's just full of theatrics.
Yeah, and I'd say you are probably, and if guests that don't know, you're probably one of the, because you're saying, even including me And I was like, man, I don't know. You're probably one of the most authentic on camera, off camera. You're exactly like, I don't see a big difference between the two, like on camera or off camera.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I tried, yeah, just to be myself on everything. But you know, as you get going, especially with social media and all of that, there is pressure to, if you allow it to, like, oh, now do this, you know, now say this, you know, you should post more, comment more, you know, the algorithm and all that. Like, and I've had, you know, certain individuals come in that were like, hey, I want to help you out with your business and your online stuff or whatever. And because I have no clue about it, right? I could care less about any of that. And my brain just will not even try to comprehend any of it, because to me, I'm more of like a hands-on individual where I like to go out, work, see you face to face, you know, do all that. So, but then when I hired somebody to come in, they were like, oh, you know, they start giving you advice, and they're like, well, you should post more, do a post a day or two posts a day. You should comment on what's going on in Iraq, or you should comment on, talk about this. And it's like, dude, I don't have anything to say about that particular subject because I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I don't have the knowledge to go on, but I do think people fall into that and they're like, okay, yeah, I'll get on there and I'll start spewing off whatever my opinion is, but I'm going to state it as fact.
Yeah.
And that's where people get caught. It's like a slippery slope where it's like, okay, now you're entrapped in it. And now you feel like you have the pressure, you have to be on the camera all the time to like maintain my followers and maintain my fans. That is fake.
Yeah.
You are now not yourself anymore. You are now part of that system that entraps you. It's like I look at social media as a big corporation. And they're like, yes, get back on there. Post, keep posting. I don't know, man. There's, you know, like we've talked about before, there's good and bad with social media, but I think the bad outweighs the good.
Yeah.
In the long run.
I see that.
What do you think? What are your thoughts, Dave?
Well, I think it would be like me coming on and talking about Navy SEALs or talking about military anything. We joked the other week about stolen valor. I couldn't get away with stolen valor for probably like 30 seconds. I'd be like, I'm part of the 160th 3rd division of the unit 3. You know, I would screw it all up because I don't know about that. Now, I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
You know?
You could, I mean, in a way, honestly, from the amount of podcasts that we've done on here with, you know, the amount of military members that we've had on, you know enough, right? You
know a lot. There was a lot more to it than I ever dreamed of.
Yeah, but you could, I mean, if you wanted to, you could get on there, and I'm not saying you would, Dave, and that's not, I'm just saying you could get on there. You could start speaking in the language that you've learned, the military lingo, and there will be people that will believe you.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's like, okay, yeah, this guy knows his stuff. And it'd be like me listening to you talk about tech stuff for a long time, and I'm, you know, taking little notes every here and there, and then I get on and I start giving tech advice to people, and it's like, dude, you don't even barely know how to turn on a computer, and now you're telling people, you know,
about the algorithms,
whatever, yeah,
the interwebs.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's 100%. That same premise.
But then I would know in my heart that I was a liar and a fake, and that's like, to me, that's like a worst nightmare.
Yeah, well, that's because you have principles, Dave.
Wow. Ugh. Okay, so you ready for the first question?
First question.
Let's take this one.
Isaiah, are you doing good?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna bring Isaiah.
We got to get Isaiah on at some point.
I know.
For those that are listening, Isaiah is our
Jamie.
He's our new Jamie, except way better.
Yeah. Okay, what were when growing up? What were your biggest influences?
My biggest influences growing up, movies, I think, and then
Rambo.
Yeah, like Rambo, Predator, all the war. Well, I'll say my biggest influence growing up was my dad.
Yeah.
Right. just because that's who I hailed as my hero. And he was in the Army for 24 years and moved around all the time. And I grew up around the military. Like, it was just part of my life. And I didn't think anything, I didn't know anything different.
Yeah.
So obviously, my dad loved the military as well, loved the Army. So we watched military movies all the time. And I think those heavily influenced me, obviously, to do the job that I ended up doing. But yeah, I mean, music influenced me.
When you went into the recruiter's office, was that like a huge moment for your dad when you joined?
Oh, dude, so when I joined, I didn't tell my parents until the day before I left for boot camp.
That's right.
Yeah, so no, I think when I told them the night before that I was leaving for boot camp,
Yeah.
my dad was definitely, my mom was freaking out
Yeah.
because she was like, what in the world, but at the end of the day, they knew me too. And they knew I just do whatever I want to do. I was always like that as a kid. And my dad was probably proud that I was going into the military. Obviously, he would have wanted me to go into the Army. But he was definitely proud when I made it through Buds. Like, that was he treated that for me like graduating college, where,
Well,
it was like, that's my
really
profession.
similar.
Yeah.
But they do a big ceremony right at Buds where they come and pin your trident, or
They switched it up. So when I went through, you graduated Buds, and that was the big ceremony. You didn't get your trident then, but that was like, parents and everybody came. And then from there, you went to SEAL qualification training. And at the end of that, you get your trident, but that is a small ceremony with just SEALs in there, where they put it on, your chest or whatever, and you're pretty much told that you aren't shit, and that it's like, hey, congratulations on getting
pin
this,
you, they
but
kick
you
in the
are,
balls.
well, they're just like, and I'm glad they told us that. It's like, you're not anything. Like, nobody here is impressed because we all did it, and you have to earn that every day, and it starts now.
Didn't you say, like, once you make it to CQT,
SQT,
that
SEAL qualification training.
yeah, that's one of the harder parts after Buds, right?
No, dude. SQT was, I mean,
That's more of the technical stuff. Like,
that is where you are actually learning the job, what the job entails. So Buds is not, you don't learn anything in Buds.
learn how to suffer.
You learn, like, you do the basic shooting, basic explosives, the basics of diving. It's just the basics of everything, pretty much, that what a job entails. But when you go to SEAL qualification training, that is where it gets a little bit more advanced. It's not like super advanced, but it gets a little bit more advanced, so you actually know the inner workings of each thing that you have to do as a SEAL. So you do, CQC, which is close quarters combat, land warfare, diving, VBSS, maritime operations, the whole gamut. But it's really just to prepare you, so when you show up to a platoon, that you are not completely lost. You have like some sort of a baseline. And so then the guys in the platoon don't have to do a lot of extra work to bring you up to the point you're already at. Now they can start adding more knowledge onto you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you feel like you learn the most of? I mean, obviously, like clearing buildings and stuff like that, you learned between Buds and SQT.
No.
No?
Heck no, dude.
Really?
When we learned CQC, when I went through SQT, it was literally one room and then a follow-on room. And that was it. That was like the extent. And then after I graduated SQT, I went to 18 Delta, the Army Special Forces Medical Course. And so when I went back to check into my team, they were about to take off to their first CQC trip for workup, like the platoon. So I showed up just right when they were leaving to go do that. So I went out there with them, and it was the worst trip of my life. Had no clue what was going on. Was thrown right into the fire, like, get in the stack and go. And like, here's a quickie, like a quickie saw, because we do a lot of breaching. Back then it was a lot of breach problems that we were doing, but
I just was drinking through a fire hose.
Just overwhelmed with.
Oh, that was the worst. I was overwhelmed because you want to perform
Yeah.
and you want to do good, but I was playing catch up. While most of the other new guys had been at the team for a little bit, so they got the training and like we're like, okay, they knew sort of the gist of how it works, where I was learning right then.
So you feel like you didn't really learn a lot of that stuff. Like the most comprehensive learning part was actually when you were in the teams.
Yeah, that's where you learn everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you show up to a team, you know just enough to be dangerous to everybody, yourself and everybody around you.
Yeah.
And then when you show up to a team, that's when you start learning how to do things.
Which is probably why they put you in your place when you first get there, of saying, "Hey, you don't know shit."
Yes, and you don't, and that's the way it should be. And it's like you need to keep your mouth shut, your eyes open, and your ears open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like within the first year you really got to a place that you're like, okay, I know what I'm doing? Like when
I think after my first deployment, after coming back from my first deployment, you have a little bit more confidence. You're like, okay, I kind of know what's going on, but you still don't. And then after your second deployment, my second one, I came back, then I was definitely a lot more comfortable. It's like, okay, now I'm, in the groove. But then even then, in the big scheme of things, you don't know shit. Like, there's always more to add on, and it's on you as a SEAL or any type of operator is to continue expanding your knowledge base on every mission set that you have to do or everything that you have to do. And some guys take it seriously and do that, and then some guys sort of just, they're like, I'm good where I'm at.
Yeah. I bet it's not completely straightforward. It's not like, okay, he's at this level. It depends on your deployments probably too, right? Because you have different types of deployments.
Yes, I think that would too. Like I was lucky and privileged to go on combat deployments where some guys didn't, and they did like PI or Philippines or Guam.
PI mean like they're just doing research and
No, PI. I'm sorry. PI is short for the Philippines. And that's on the West Coast teams. On the East Coast teams, they go to UCOM, which is Europe, and train there, right? And yeah, like you do training there, but it's not the same as actually going to combat and doing the job, right? That I think you get a lot more experience, and experience matters. And you come back and you have a lot more to offer than someone that went to Europe or the PI.
yeah.
In my opinion, but it also depends on the guy too.
Just because you got more action out there. Is that right? Or
Yeah, you went and actually did the job for real.
but you need to say like doing the job most of the time, clearing rooms, like clearing buildings, securing securing areas. I mean, I know it includes way more than that, like rescuing hostages, killing bad dude. Like also a lot of reconnaissance stuff too, right?
Yeah, there's
Most
a
of
lot.
the time, would you say like 50% of it's clearing areas?
It depends on what your mission is. My first deployment was a lot of direct action. So going to hitting houses. And then my second was in Afghanistan, and that was completely different. We were still doing clearance. We were clearing Afghan compounds, and then getting in firefights the rest of the day with because the Taliban would come in and want to start. So we would sit there and just trade rounds with them back and forth. But it was just a different environment. But that's what I mean by experience, right? So then by my second platoon, I had Iraq, and I had already been before. So it was my second time in Iraq, and then my second platoon, it was Afghanistan. So I had that experience under my belt.
Yeah.
Does that mean I'm like better or whatever than someone that went to the PI or Europe? No. But experience does matter, right? So
I imagine the Middle East is quite a bit different environment than
I mean but that's what I'm saying. Like you got to do the job for real, and you have that knowledge under your belt because you probably had a bunch of lessons learned coming back, and so you're able to pass that knowledge down to your peers that maybe didn't go, or the newer guys that are coming in.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just went to the Philippines or Guam and partied the whole deployment, which is mainly what happens, you do like, cross training with other countries, but you're coming back not really with a more expansive amount of knowledge than when you left.
What would you say, like, as new guys coming in, because you had 9 deployments, is that right?
Yeah.
9 deployments, like, especially as you got further along, I imagine when you started really teaching and leading guys more and more, that taught you a whole nother level.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what I mean. You're forever the student. So when you get in a leadership position, that's when you start learning a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. There's always things that you can add, tools in your toolbox. And yeah, I think, as you keep going up the rung of leadership, that's when you start realizing like, oh, I don't know a lot, and I need to buckle down and start, learning a lot more, getting involved more with the guys. But that's just a natural order of things. There's nobody that like comes in and it's like, yep, I know it all. And, it's like, no, like everyone learns as they go.
Do you see that? Was that like with new guys new SEALs coming in? Is there like a main trend that you see as like one of the worst things for them as they come in? Is that them coming in thinking that, hey, I got this?
The worst thing that you can do for them, and I don't think they're doing it anymore, but they were for a hot minute, is boosting them up, telling them that, they're freaking heroes for signing up to be a SEAL or making it through BUDS, and you're part of the point whatever percent. You're trying to like make them feel special. It's like, dude, there's nothing special about you at all, and there's nothing special about me either.
Yeah.
Like, buckle down and get to work. But because they're told that, some of them have an entitled attitude, right? And I even put this in my book. It's no fault of theirs. It's literally the people that treated them like they were God's gift to the military for becoming a SEAL. Then if you're being told that as a brand new student, and you make it through and you're constantly being told that, then yeah, you're going to think, yes, I am
a pretty big deal.
I just put myself through the hardest training, and what are they going to do for me now? You know what I mean? And it's like, no, dude, it's a volunteer program, and nobody here cares that you went. We all went through it too.
Did you see, was that one of the things that you tried to, I mean, it's honestly, it's really caring for them is to break them out of that. It's really caring for the team is to break guys out of it. You see, okay, your ego's getting inflated. You think you're hot shit. You're not learning. You're not being humble.
Yeah.
And taking stuff in. I need to knock you down a notch. And
well, back in the day, that would be taken care of a lot differently. Yeah.
Sure.
You'd be taken out behind the berm or the Connex box, and you'd be served up a piece of humble pie by the platoon.
Yeah.
But then, of course, that became hazing or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So when that was like taken away, or like when they took away the platoon's ability to take care of their own, and then it became a paperwork issue, like, well, just write paperwork on them and administrative stuff. And that's where, because nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
And I think some of the entitled guys knew, like, you're not going to touch me. You're not going to do this to me. So I don't care.
Yeah. That's actually, I mean, it's scary because it's life and death missions.
But that like I said, I think that whole attitude went away. I'm hoping it did.
Yeah.
But who knows? I'm so detached now from the teams that I don't know how the inner workings go anymore.
When did you become in leadership position? What deployment did you start taking on?
Well,
leadership?
the military does a good job of, you're in little micro leadership positions your whole time, right? So when you're a new guy, you're put in charge of your department, right? Or you might be the assistant to your whatever department you own, whether it's like the ordnance, or I was in charge of medical, stuff like that. So that's your responsibility as a new guy to take care of all that and make sure it's upkept and this and that. And then from there, when you go to your second platoon, you might become a fire team leader, which now you have 3 guys underneath you, right? And you're still taking orders from your squad leader, and then of course your LPO, platoon chief, and OIC. But you are in charge of squaring away the 3 individuals in your fire team. So that's your little leadership position that you can work on. And then the next platoon, you might be a squad leader. Now you have a whole squad that you're in charge of. And then the next is like LPO. Now you have both the squads.
Which would be like 6 men a squad-ish. 6 to
Yeah, like
somewhat.
it depends on how many guys are in the platoon, but squad, yeah, about 8 guys. Yeah. And then from there it just keeps going up, right? Until you become a platoon chief, so now you're in charge of the whole platoon. You're still working for the officer, who's the OIC. And then from there, you become a senior chief, and you can become a senior enlisted advisor. Now you're in charge of 2 platoons. And the platoon chiefs come to you for advice, or you give them advice and try to help them out. And then you keep moving up the ranks, and eventually you'll be like where one of my best friends is at right now. He's a master chief of the whole team, right? So he's in charge of the team.
Were you Master Chief at the end?
No, dude.
You were
I was a senior chief, but I got busted down to chief.
Yeah.
Yeah, story of my life.
Can you only make it up so far without being an officer?
The only way you can become an officer is if you go to you do the enlisted to officer program or something like that, and you go to OCS, which is Officer Candidate School, and you go to Fork and Knife School, whatever they call it, like teach you how to be a gentleman, which is, and then then you become an officer. Then you can come back to the team, and now you're a junior officer, so you're a new guy officer, except you could have like 4 or 5 platoons under your belt already because you were enlisted before.
Yeah. I would really like to have a reality TV show where you go to officer school, the knife and fork school now, and let's just have a camera crew follow you around and see how. I like to hear the interviews of you like after going.
I'd be booted within the first week.
Yeah, you would.
Yeah. I have a bit of a defiance disorder.
Yeah. That's awesome. So out of your 9, I'm going to just stick with this instead of some of those other questions. Out of those 9 deployments, when you look at it, do you look at one of those deployments more than the other ones of going, man, I learned so much on that one. Like I learned more on that one deployment than the other ones, or ones that stick out that you say, okay, that was one of my favorites, but I didn't learn as much, or that one was just went by easy. I mean, you had pretty active deployments compared to most people, right?
I mean, not compared to most, but I had good deployments. I was very privileged in my career, just the way it worked out for me. But each deployment you learn, I mean, you're constantly gaining knowledge and experience. Like I talked about, I think, like the first 3 or 4, like you're just really focused on the tactics and just becoming a better shooter, better operator, better communicator. And then when you get put into leadership positions, like I was talking about, like LPO or chief, you're still maintaining the tactical prowess like that you've built up. At least you're supposed to, but now you're starting to learn how to lead and have guys underneath you and have guys follow you and that is a whole different learning experience because
was that difficult? It's just like exercising another part of your brain.
Yeah, I think it wasn't really like when I did my LPO. No, it wasn't difficult because I mean my chief that I had at the time was one of my best friends, so it was like it really worked out. We ran the platoon. I think you'd have to, and again, you could ask the guys that were underneath you. That's where you're going to get the real answer is like, what did you think? And there's going to be guys that are like, yeah, fuck him. Like, I didn't like the way he led. And there's other dudes that like, I'd follow him anywhere. And you have to sort of, I didn't do it then because you're just going and you're just doing what you know. Like my leadership style probably entailed how I was led through the Marine Corps and then through my first couple platoons, in the teams, you just pick up bits and pieces, and you're like, okay, this is how I was led. I'm going to change a couple things, but I'm going to lead in sort of the same way.
Yeah.
I had a very just no bullshit, like, this is what we're doing, follow orders and get the job done.
Yeah.
Right. Where maybe somebody else would have a different leadership style where they're like, hey, let's sit down and talk about
bedside
this. And well, how do you guys think about this? And what do you guys feel? And I don't think there's a lot of that going on in the SEAL teams, but I do think there is some people that are like that, and not saying that's wrong. Like, that's just a different form of leadership. But I think as far as a learning curve, I don't know, man.
There's not one that sticks out. You learn through all of them.
My first platoon is like, that was the big learning. Like, you're like, oh shit. And you're just taking everything on. So yeah, I would say my first platoon is really the big learning curve.
It's a big change.
Yeah.
Do you, I mean, it's got to be difficult to lead a bunch of, I don't know, better alpha-like.
Yeah. Well, yeah, strong-headed.
Yeah.
Strong-willed, independent dudes that all have their own ideas.
They're not just yes men, so to speak.
No, which you don't want a yes man.
Correct.
But you also don't want somebody constantly questioning, right? And you're like, dude, now you're questioning just to question now, right? And like when you are a newer guy, second platoon or third platooner, yes, if you have good ideas, bring them up, and maybe we'll implement them or add them into what we're doing. But then if you are bringing up ideas that are just like, dude, no, like that doesn't make sense. We're not doing that, or that's just not even, because guys will come up with all sorts of shit, and you're like, that's not going to happen.
They're just saying that stuff just to be right, or just to...
maybe, and then just a bitch, I guess. And I'm at fault. Like when I probably did it as well. But that's when, as a leader, you're like, hey, dude, enough.
Yeah.
Like, this is what we're doing, and either you could fucking do it or you can leave.
Yeah.
And that's it. At the end of the day, that's the military in a nutshell.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? So when I'm not doing the podcast, I'm doing a lot of traveling. I put on training all over the country for LE and civilians. I also travel a lot for my nonprofit, the Pipe Hitter Foundation. And as you guys know, travel, going back and forth, can wear you down. But this past year, I have found the antidote. So let me put you on to Aquavita, Destin's premier IV therapy and oxygen bar. This place is owned and operated by a board-certified ER physician with over 23 years of experience, so you know your health is in good hands. Every IV drip is mixed to Board of Pharmacy standards and backed by CDC-level infection control. Whether you're dealing with a fatigue, a hangover, jet lag, stress, immunity issues, or even PMS, they've got custom vitamin drips and boosters tailored just for that. When you go inside, the place is pretty awesome. It puts you at ease right when you go in there. They have comfy lounge chairs, which are perfect for singles or couples, full group sessions. And you can even book the whole space for bachelor or bachelorette parties, race day recovery, or wellness events. While you're in there, they go the extra mile too. They'll give you blankets, sleep masks, earplugs, aromatherapy oxygen, all complimentary. And the best part, every visit includes direct care from the physician and experienced RNs, all focused on fast, safe, and affordable wellness. So if you're in the Destin area, hit up Aquavita. Your body will definitely thank you.
When you think about your deployments, do they kind of run together sometimes? I mean, 9's quite a bit, and it's over a span of what,
Yeah, I mean, I just don't remember. Like,
years,
if I sat down and really like dissected, I could have probably remembered dates and years and this and that. But like, just thinking back, like, some of them run together, or just the dates and times and all that. I go off of music, like what music was out at the time, and I'm like, oh, dude, that came out my third deployment.
Really?
Yeah, it's weird. It's my
you use music to help you.
I can remember when certain songs came out, like, or the songs were popular at the time, and I'm like, oh, that was my second Afghan deployment, or that was, people were banging that on my fourth deployment, and I don't know, it's my autism. That's the way I remember things.
You're like Chumbawamba. Oh yeah, that's when we.
Chubbawamba, dude, that was senior year high school. I get knocked down.
That's awesome. If today, is there any part of you that goes, man, I wish I could still be in some sort of action, or like we joked around if when I forget when it was, 6 months, a year ago, they're saying something about cartels and putting some. If they said, hey, let's get some non-active military SEALs together and to go down there and take care of some. I mean, I think you would. Jump
Yeah,
on
if it
that
was
in a
sanctioned,
second.
if it was sanctioned, and
yeah.
they were like, "Yes, we're looking for people to go do this and
Yeah.
operate together," like, heck yeah, and I'm going to get paid for it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's like obviously that would never happen. That's like a pipe dream. I no, like I don't like if that was offered, like, hey, you want to go back in the military? World War III's kicking off, which I'm like, no, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, first off, I'm not fighting for this government ever fucking again.
Yeah.
Not the way that I've seen everything treated over the past decade. I'm like, I don't believe a freaking word any of them say. And I'm not going to go shed blood or watch my brothers die for bullshit again. But I'm, I still train. I still maintain the same kind of lifestyle of when I was in, and I do that just in case I have to protect my family or something happens. And yeah, like I'm still ready to go,
And it's
but
healthy.
I will not leave my wife and kids again
Yeah.
to go do a job where it's like, great, you went and did it.
Would you
See
say
ya.
that's probably the number one, not regret, but thing you look back on and go, that's the biggest downside of being in the teams for that time, was missing that time with your wife and kids.
I think that's one of the only regrets I have.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even,
I wouldn't call it a regret.
I don't
necessarily, but
really want to call it a regret either. It's just one of those things where I'm glad I did what I did, and I don't regret doing that job at that time. I think it was like the best time to be in the military, especially in the teams. We got to actually go play ball. But I do miss think about all the time that I missed with my kids growing up. Like a lot of the memories I have of them when they're little is on computer screens or pictures on computer screens, right? Because Andrea was awesome and she'd send me pictures of them or videos of them. Those are my memories of them, unless, besides the times I was home, but that's it, And so you didn't get that full effect of watching them grow and watching them like sort of go through these changes. And it's just like you come home after 6-7 months, home for a couple weeks, gone, right? And then you're seeing them when you come back on the weekends or this and that, or you come back for a week or 2 weeks and you're there. But it's just you really didn't get to. I didn't get to see them grow up, which is another reason. Like I have one still at home, Ryan, and that's another I wouldn't leave because I'm not missing that opportunity again.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's not regret. Maybe it's the biggest trade-off.
Yeah.
You had to trade that.
The only way I would regret it is if my kids and Andrea were like not proud of what I did, or were like, that what a waste. You know what I mean? If they thought that, then I would regret it.
Yeah.
But they don't. My kids do understand the sacrifice that was made to serve this country during that time, which is a huge majority of the reason Trevin joined.
Yeah.
Even when I was trying to talk him out of it, he was like, nope. He's like, I feel like it's my duty to sacrifice for this country, just like you. And he went to enough, seen enough of my friends die. He's like, they gave their lives for this country. I owe this to, and that, how you going to argue with that? So that's like good. That's why I guess I don't say it's a regret.
Wouldn't matter arguing it either. Tripping's pretty smart.
Yeah,
Probably
well,
a
that's
good
half the
debater.
reason I was like, why? My buddy, you are way too intelligent for this. But he gave the right answers, and
Yeah.
it also made me feel better as a dad when he was like, I understand the sacrifice that you made, and I want to do it too. Like that sort of makes you feel good as a dad. It's like, okay, what I was doing wasn't overlooked or like
Sure.
wasn't looked at in like you're a bad father. They did know that I was doing it for righteous reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like now that you're out and at home and back, do you feel like a sense of, I got to make up time for the past, or do you just?
I think when I first got out, there is that like feeling, and then dude, that's such a dangerous road to go down, man, because you are never going to make up time for the past.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, man. And if you sit there and spend all of your thought process of like, how can I make up time? How can I do this? One, you're not making time with your kids right now because you're too worried about the time that you did miss and trying to make it up. All you need to do is focus on right now. What can you do now? And then in the future.
Yeah.
Right. So, but I did. Yeah. I think some guys you do go through that. Like, you're like, dang, dude, I just missed all this time. And yeah, it sucks. But at the same time, it's already happened.
Yeah.
It's done. So you can either sit there and wallow in it and be like, oh, I'm such a horrible dad, or you can be like, all right, time starts now.
Yeah.
Let's start moving forward.
Gotta be present right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, I mean, know that, I forget what the question was like. I don't regret.
Yeah. Well, just
Or
having
making
a
up.
feeling when you first got out.
Yeah. I did. I mean, I did for a bit.
Yeah.
But then I came to quickly realize that I can't make up for that lost time.
Yeah. Do you feel like all the work that you and Andrea have done, and also just because it shifts, because now you're back at the house all the time, and that's probably one of the toughest seasons was getting out, and yours is so much more extreme, but
Yeah, mine has a little spice added onto it. But I mean, it's
firecracker farm spice.
yeah,
added
some
to it.
apocalypto. But no, I mean, yeah, like it's difficult when you get out, right? But I'm not different from most of the dudes that everyone goes through it when they get out. There's that transition process, and I think that's one of the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of guys that don't make it. There's a lot of guys that end up putting a gun in their mouth, and I look at it now as now going through it, and I feel like I'm in a better place than I've ever been.
Oh.
Right.
Would you say that about your marriage too?
Oh yeah, dude. Our marriage was always good.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were like, I mean, we went through turmoil, any turmoil that most married couples go through in that job field. And we always like put a foot forward during that time to work on it. Yeah. But it's like pushing a clown car uphill, dude. You're going to these counselings while you're in, and they're like, oh, like, she's pissed because you're not present and you're not fully there as a husband and father, even though you're physically present, and she wants, she can see it. But then for the guy, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm like, the job comes first. And that's the harsh reality of that job is like, you guys are second. Like, this job, like, whatever they want me to do, I'm going to do. And so that is a rocky road, right, to go through. And you have to have, like I said, I'm blessed that I had Andrea, and she stuck it out, and like, but we had a good marriage, but I think it wasn't as good as it could have been just because of that element. Sure. So then when you get out, obviously you're going through a real rocky process of transition. But like, her and I aren't quitters. So we're constantly trying to improve it. And now we're like at a point where dude, she's my I mean, she's my best friend. She's my soulmate. She's like my freaking swim buddy, like everything. Like I would rather be around her all day than anybody else. And we're just happy. You know what I mean? But that is because we put in the work. And going back to the whole transition piece, I tell guys now, man, I'm like, it's a selection process. It's just another selection process you have to go through. And you have to put the same amount of work and drive and effort that you did to become a SEAL, Green Beret, this, that, whatever job title you had. All the effort you put into becoming that, now you have to put that effort into becoming whatever you want to be on the outside.
Yeah.
And you can't, because it's going to be rough. And it's a different level of hardships, right?
Yeah.
It's not physically demanding. It's not, you're not, getting yelled at, beat down, and whatever every day. Now you're left to your own, and you have to deal with all the stuff that you did in your career. That's all going to come, swirling around, and then also figure out how to integrate into your family, and then also how to become a productive member of society in some form or fashion. And I think that's a lot to take on.
Yeah.
But if you just, same thing. If you don't quit and accept the fact that it's going to be tough, and accept the fact that you're not a perfect human being, just because you were some special operator, it's like, that's gone, dude. Like, you're not that. So you're a husband. You're a father. Why don't you become the best of that instead of being the best special operator?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. In some ways, would you say, as weird as it sound like, you're nine deployment, 20-ish years, whatever, that transitioning out and the last few years you've been living in all the work that you've been getting, reaping what you've been sowing with all the work you've done of getting healthier and all that. But I mean, those initial years out were tougher in some ways than all the deployments and
Oh yeah, dude. Heck yeah, they were, bro. I mean, I don't think during my career did I, was I ever like, I don't know, pulling over in my car and just screaming, like yelling when nobody's around in my car, like, because I am so at my wit's end, like my brain's not functioning properly. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And you just get to a point where you're like, dude, and that's where, and I never had suicidal like tendencies or thoughts. Like I was like, but I understood.
Yeah.
I understood why dudes did it, because I was like, this fucking blows, dude. And you just, again, it's a selection process. Yes, it sucks. It blows, but you have to stick with it. Start looking for help. Reach out, man. And I know this is the hardest part, is like reaching out and just talking to somebody. But that stuff helps. And then also, looking at what organizations are out there that you can go to help you get back on your feet. There's so many. There's so many opportunities out there to get you back to the norm, or to get you going in the right direction. It's just when you're in that space of, you're so frustrated, I think, you're depressed, your hormonal stuff is all off, your balance is off, just because of all the damage you did to your brain doing that job and your body. It's just a mixed mash of just like shit that you have to sort through.
And you put the relational stuff on top of it.
Yeah, put that on top, and then, I have to provide, I have to find a job, but what kind of job am I going to get? I don't want to get one that, sucks, where I'm going to be even more miserable. So like, there's all these things that, you can add stressors on to it. And you, like anything, like just like when I'm making through buds, you have to just take it one step at a time.
Yeah.
What's the first problem I need to solve? Let's focus on that and forget all the other stuff. Because if I think about all the other stuff, that's just going to compound and like become stressful. Once I accomplish that, what's the next problem I got to solve to getting better?
Yeah.
Let's do that. And eventually, you start, the clouds start sort of separating a little bit.
Yeah.
And then once you start seeing that or feeling that happen, you're like, oh, sweet. Okay. But you also have to accept the fact that there's going to be setbacks. It's not like you're going to be feeling good and then all of a sudden, boom, it's back again. And you're like, oh, like ticked. And I think that's where guys also fall apart because they're like, oh, I'm finally like getting my stride, and then they get knocked back down a little bit, and then I think guys, and plus guys also turn to whatever's going to numb them, pills, alcohol, all that just is you're just putting blockades into getting better.
It's a good word. I think the first thing that you really hit was, like you said, that very first part was, hey, I need to get healthy.
Yes.
So you started doing one spiritually, right? Probably the number one.
Yeah,
Like,
that is the number one. Yeah.
And it wasn't, hey, I went and got baptized or I went and had some spiritual experience. You were like, no, you laid a foundation of consistent time with God every morning, and you prayed and you read the Bible.
Yeah. I've had my relationship with God and turn to him and ask him to help me get through the day, because I know that there's going to be setbacks.
Yeah.
I know that life's unfair. And so just to, give me the strength to persevere through all of that. And he does each and every time.
Yeah. I think you did that, and then you started working out, right?
No, that is one thing I always did. Actually, and I'll say this, the more I think about it, like the working out was just another crutch to stop me from actually getting better. I think the working out helped me, but I was like a fanatic. Even when I was in the teams, I was a fanatic. People were like, dude, you're off the charts a little bit on some of the stuff that you do.
You're kind of extreme, Eddie.
Yes, or intense was like the word that was always used. But like looking back, like a lot of that was used to cope. That was my coping mechanism for the anxiety and all the other things that I had, which I didn't know I had. I was just doing what I needed to be done, so I didn't have to think about any of those things. So I just,
It's kind of like your escape.
I would work out. I would beat myself down every day, to where I was too tired to like have anxiety, or I was too tired to have probably some of the issues that I had. And so I wouldn't have to think about them. And then I did that when I got out. It was like, 2-3 times a day working out.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, okay, you can spend all your time at the gym, and that's great. But dude, there's a line where it's like, one, you're doing more harm than good. You're not like, dude, when I was in the teams, I weighed 155 pounds. My max was 160 because I was constantly go, 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 go. And then when I got out, I was doing that, and it wasn't, there wasn't a balance. And so, but I do think, yes, working out is definitely something that everybody should do. Now, whether you're a veteran or not, it's like, that's something that you should do just because it makes you a better person. But if you're using it in excess, maybe there's a reason. Maybe you are distracting yourself from something that you're supposed to be working on spiritually.
You're not getting the splinter out, so to speak. Like, you're not addressing the deep.
Yeah.
And then I think you started doing TBI work and doing some of those things that helped and gave, if anything, some of that seems like it took away, it enabled you to process things better. It took away some of the fog.
It gave me a better understanding about what was actually going on in my brain. I mean, or like what was going on inside of me, because like I said, you get so frustrated. And the reason you're frustrated when you're having all these issues is like, you don't know how to fix them. You don't know where they're coming from. Yeah. You're like, dude, I don't know why I'm like this. So once I started doing the work, I got my blood work done, getting my brain looked at, talking to, like a talk therapist who's a guy, actually Dr. Chris, we had him on, and just having them break down like, hey man, this is why you're like this. And here's what's going on inside your body right now, here's what we need to fix. We need to bring these levels up. We need to, take these supplements and that's when you start like, okay, there is a treatment process, and you start doing the work for that, and it, eventually you'll get in your stride where, like I said, the clouds just are starting to dissipate, and you start to feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Well, I got to see that from the sidelines with you. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure.
You look nuclear.
I was nuclear when I got out, dude. That was just a crazy
Yeah.
time. Yeah, especially with, like we said, the extra spice added on top of my transition with having my face thrust into
Yeah.
the spotlight, and being demonized on one side and being hailed as like, which I can't, like, like a hero or whatever, and I'm not that either. And so like I'm stuck in this thing where, like, dude, I don't want to be either one of these things. I
Just
just
leave me
want to be
alone.
left the fuck alone. Right? But it's not, the reality is like that's not going to happen either. So you have to,
Yeah. Do you think? Hey, would this be a good word if, or would this be true? You think it's not that most guys transition out of the military. I mean, because I do think it's so many people commit suicide from it, and I wonder if it's not that it's tough, it's that they feel stuck and they feel like they can't get out of it. It's
Yeah.
not that they can't handle something being tough and difficult. It's like they don't know another way out.
No,
feel
they don't know which
stuck,
way
and
to go.
They continue to feel stuck after you feel stuck for so long. So frustrating. The only way out they know is to end it.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. I mean, I think it's a lot like depression, right? I think a lot of guys are depressed when they get out, whether they want to admit it or not. Like, it's like, no, I was like, I didn't know I was depressed until I was like, oh shit. Like I was talking to the guy, he's like, no, you're depressed. And I was like, what? I'm like, dude, only weak people get depressed. And he's like, no, you have depression. And what's sick about depression is when you're in it, it's like there's no way out of this.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, just don't be depressed, or like be happy. It's like, dude, what? Like, then you want to just kill the person that's telling you that, because you're like, you have no idea. Like, you're just in this constant spiral. And that's something that you also have to work through and sort of combat, right? So it's like, understand how it feels. First understand and accept the fact that you have depression.
Yeah.
And whatever you want to call it. I don't care if people are like, oh, depression doesn't exist. Whatever you want to call what's going on,
Yeah.
call it something and then work on it. But
Black
just understand the fact that you have something that needs to be treated. And once you understand, like once I was like, okay, I have depression, how do I keep this from happening? And so that's a whole nother work in itself, where understanding how it starts to feel when it comes on, understanding what makes it stronger, what makes it like completely take you over. And then once you understand those things, and you can understand the steps you have to take to mitigate that from happening. Like now, if I feel like even a tinge of it, I'm like, okay, dude, I know this is coming on. And so I do, I'll go, my cure for it is, dude, I'll go on a 10-mile walk. Just walk, not run, not work myself out. It's to just walk and process whatever is going on to bring me down. And so that has worked wonders, and then the number one thing obviously is my relationship with Christ.
Do you pray a lot when you do those walks?
Yeah, I'll talk to
Kind of
God.
like just talking back
Yeah,
and forth with
like, dude, what, I
Yeah.
sit there and bargain and negotiate, and like, why is this happening to me? Why, blah blah blah. Like, well, you're not like, why is this happening? But it's like, dude, why am I starting to feel this again? Help me through this, please. Help me. Like, give me, I'll ask him, like, just give me something I can do to solve this. And usually he does. There's something, that snaps me out of it.
Yeah. When you talk about spirituality, I know you do your morning stuff. Is there like times, and maybe it's the walks, that you feel the closest to God, or that thing that rejuvenates you spiritually? Is it, I imagine it's being active in some sort of way, or just like something that you're doing, you're like, okay, I'm going to go take a walk with God. Or
Yeah.
not even thinking of it that way.
I would say, like, in the mornings when I'm talking to him and I'm doing that, I feel close to him.
Yeah.
But then usually if I'm cognizant of it and I'm really paying attention, I feel closest to him when I can see the fruits of my prayers come to life that day. When I have asked to be a better father or a better husband and like help me, love unconditionally like you love me. Like help me be more like you. And when I can see the fruits of that, when my kids are like hugging me or like, oh, I love you, and or we just have more like intimate time together, and that is like when I'm like, dude, this is God.
Yeah.
This is all Him. So that's when I feel closest to Him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like there's if there's any area that is just a vast expanse to grow in spiritually, like always areas where I'm going, oh man, I get to grow so much more, and it's actually hopeful. Not
Yeah.
saying, oh man, I'm not at this certain place where I think I should be. It's going, no man, I got so much more to learn. And
Always,
to
man. And we're all works in progress.
Yeah.
Like everybody.
Yeah.
And I think I still like have stuff that I like, oh, please God, like let me, like even stuff that'll irritate me or like, and it's stuff you see on social media or whatever. And I can feel you're just like, oh my gosh, then I feel like embarrassed because I'm like, dude, why am I letting this affect me in this way? But I'll talk to God. I'm like, to God, like,
Yeah.
and he right away, it's like, boom, none of that shit's important.
Yeah.
None of that shit even matters. Like, what's important is what's around you, what's in your household.
Yeah.
I have bigger problems in my life to worry about. My dad has on his final stages of Alzheimer's. Like, what am I doing to make the most time of that? What am I doing to take care of my family? What am I doing to make myself a better husband, father, friend? And then also, what am I doing to be a protector and provider? So those are things that are on my plate. Like, but I'm human just like everybody else. And so you can get distracted from those things that matter by paying attention to the news or social media or all the other BS that's put out there, and it can entrap you.
Yeah. Spend half a day worrying about some dude on social media that says something stupid.
Yeah. And you're like, dude, why am I even thinking about this moron?
If there's anywhere I feel like I have to grow, man, I'm bad about prayer.
I'll tell you where you got to grow.
Where?
Your chest and tries.
Oh yeah, sure. I need to grow there. I'm really bad about prayer. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. When I think of, like, what other relationship do I have in my life that I'm like, okay, like I spend this little time in the morning with them and then that's it. And it's like, no, like you have an ongoing conversation, anyone that you're really close to. And I'm like, I think of, like, I'll read more than I'll pray. Like, I'll think about things more than I'll pray about them.
Well, yeah,
Instead
and that's
of,
human
like,
nature, man.
That's something that I'm excited to grow in.
Yeah. I think that's always like, I mean, at the end of the day, we're humans. We're flawed, and we will overthink things and like try to solve things out on our own. And sometimes there's time and place for that.
Yeah.
It's like, because what I've seen too is like the opposite spectrum where there's some of these, like, I don't know what to call them, maybe Christian fanatics or people that are like, oh no, only if God wills it. Like, or I'm not going to work because God hasn't shown me. And it's like,
They
hasn't shown me wherever.
over-spiritualize
Yes.
everything.
And I'm like, no, dude, God gave you 2 legs, 2 arms, and a brain. Yeah. You figure it the fuck out. Yeah. And then ask God to help you along the way. That's where, I mean, because you do have to figure some things out on your own. It's when I think you start diverting and you're like getting frustrated or anxiety or worried or whatever. It's like, God, okay, I'm doing this. Please help me. Like, take these things from me, throw them at the foot of the cross
Yeah.
and take them.
Yeah. I think praying internally, not like necessarily externally. Not letting. We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Not going around going, oh, let me like look like this spiritual guru. Let me make sure everyone sees me pray.
Well, that's the other thing. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
look at me. It's fine. Like you should be like helping bring people to Christ, right? But you're also like, don't shove it down people's throats and don't like make it don't be so douchey about it that people don't want to even have anything to do with it, right? There's a way to bring people in, and the best way that I believe is just you just doing it and being the example.
Authentic.
And that way people people can look at somebody like people like you. I know people look at you, Dave, all the time. The amount of people that you have in here, like they're like, dude, I want what he has. And it's not the money, it's not the success, he's happy, he has a great family, he's always in a good mood, he's nice to everyone he meets. Well, how is he like that? And I'm sure you would say through
the
Christ.
love of God.
Right, yeah. And
It's really love. That's what it is. It's like when the counseling, the counseling, when you're doing counseling, they say number one thing to be an effective counselor is unconditional positive regard, which basically means that the person feels like that you really care for them. The trick to that in counseling is actually care for people.
yes,
Like there's your counseling
actually
technique.
give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like actually let yourself love them.
Yeah.
And I think I do that because God loved me at my worst,
Yeah.
absolute worst,
Yeah.
and grabbed a hold of me. Then, that's probably the most real thing in my whole life was God grabbing a hold of me. And I do think at times that I've been really good about prayer, and I don't externally, it wouldn't look any different than my life now, but internally I'd be praying throughout the day and just talking to him.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes that like safe place inside and that like home. It's probably some of the best times of my life, I think. And I think there's, yes, getting back, but always getting back to growing there. Not externally. I'm not saying, do X, Y, Z or what. I'm just saying like, man, just any other relationship that you have that's close, you talk, you communicate, like it's back and forth. And the closer you are, how many times a day do you talk to Andrea? Like, who knows? You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
And it's like those times that you're so in a rhythm with God that you don't even think about it. You're always talking to him about it.
Yeah. And that's your relationship with him.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same day, like, analogy, like working out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, you should work out every day. Yeah. Do something, but you don't have to post it. And you don't have to take pictures of yourself doing it. And be like, oh, look at me. And half the time those people they're just like, and I did one rep and I'm, but it's like you're doing it for purposes of like, so people can like, oh, look at you doing it. Yeah. It's like, no, dude, do it on your own. Yeah. Like, if you're going to do it, but don't do it to gain, notoriety for it or traction or followers and all that stuff. Like, and it's the same with your relationship with Christ. Mm-hmm. It's like your relationship with Christ is yours and yours alone.
Yeah.
Right. It's not, this is only my thoughts and I could be completely out of context, but I believe like that's my relationship with Christ is my relationship with Christ. Mm-hmm. It's not anybody else's. Mm-hmm. It's not some pastors or some priests to tell me how I should have my relationship with him. And it's the same with everything else in life. Like I have the discipline to have my own relationship with him and it works better than anything else I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awfully anti-Irish Catholic of you.
You're damn right. I don't support pedophilia.
All right, that's a good place to end.
Right there. I don't support pedophilia.
Yeah.
We're going to end on that statement.
Yeah.
That is a good one to end on.
Yeah.
Awesome. I I think we should have the listeners know that we got some good guests coming up.
We do.
Right.
Yep.
We got the man Isaiah on the team now.
Yeah.
I don't know if we even introduced him yet.
Yeah. We'll throw him on.
We'll get him on the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna be leveling up. As you guys can see already, we got the between a firecracker farm. We got the ferns here too, man.
Yeah.
Didn't even notice that.
Between some ferns.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah. Me too.
All right.
All right.
Out.
Out.
Hey, what's up, guys? So, as you know, when I'm not podcasting, I'm doing a lot of instructing shooting courses, whether it's from basic to advanced. And the one product I love to see people bring to the range is a suppressor for obvious reasons, because when you shoot, you want to shoot like a gentleman. And over the course of my career and also while instructing, I have got to shoot a multitude of different suppressors, and there's only one that I really love that I stick with, and that is elevated silence. I've been shooting that now for over a couple years. There is very little to no blowback. It's definitely one of the quietest suppressors out there, and believe me, I put it to the test. They are made to last. So whether you're a seasoned shooter or new to the game, Elevated Silence has a suppressor to match your needs. Their commitment to quality ensures that each product enhances your shooting sessions, making them more enjoyable and memorable. If you are looking to pick up a suppressor, go to elevatedsilence.com. Thank you and God bless.